You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN E-mini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things E-mini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro. Joining us today, Mr. Michael Borth. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Good afternoon, welcome back. Today is Monday, 7th day of October, 2024. Thanks so much for joining us. Whoever you are, wherever you are, we're just glad to have you right here, right now. Hope you had a great weekend. We're going to move along briskly today because I need to be ready. I need to be finished by the time Michael comes on. This is our daily schedule each and every day. Start out with our daily devotional, word of prayer, some news, global end markets, recap of the alerts, and then about 50 minutes into the broadcast, Michael will join us, give us a recap of everything that happened in the live training room this morning. Then we'll do some live trading on TradingView for 30 minutes. And I'll wrap things up with our good word for the day. So we're just going to dive right in to our daily devotional. And we're still in divine direction today, and one more day of this devotional topic. Over the last few days, we've talked about different directions. Stop, stay, go, serve. Today, connect. Our scripture is Acts 9, verses 26 through 30. I'm going to share with you from the Message translation. Back in Jerusalem, he tried to join the disciples, but they were all afraid of him. They didn't trust him one bit. Then Barnabas took him under his wing. He introduced him to the apostles and stood up for him, told them how Saul had seen and spoken to the master on the Damascus road, and how in Damascus itself he had laid his life on the line, his bold preaching in Jesus' name. After that, he was accepted as one of them, going in and out of Jerusalem with no questions asked, uninhibited as he preached in the Master's name. But then he ran afoul of a group called Hellenists. He had been engaged in a running argument with them who plotted his murder. When his friends learned of the plot, they got him out of town, took him to Caesarea, and then shipped him off to Tarsus. Again, that's Acts 9, verses 26 through 30. So our topic today, connect. When I realized I was made to not only serve in the church, but to serve others as the church, connecting with people became paramount. You can't serve without connecting. And who you connect with will change the stories you tell tomorrow. This has been true throughout history. Just consider the man who wrote more than 1/3 of the New Testament, the Apostle Paul. Paul wasn't always a Christian. Before he was a follower of Jesus, he was Saul from a city called Tarsus, an angry guy who persecuted and killed Christians. If you don't like Jesus groupies, you'd have loved Saul. But after taking the lives of those who believed Jesus was raised from the dead, Paul became one of them himself. His transformation was so big, so radical, so life-changing that Saul, who was renamed Paul, immediately wanted to tell others about Jesus. The problem was that no Christians trusted him, and for pretty obvious reasons. The book of Acts puts it simply: when Saul came to Jerusalem, he tried to join the disciples, but they were all afraid of him, not believing that he really was a disciple. Acts 9:26. You can't blame the disciples for their skepticism. I wouldn't want the guy who killed Christians last month leading my Bible study today. Jew. Paul had a problem. He lacked credibility with other Christians. So Paul reached out to anyone who would give him a chance to share his newfound passion. Paul's decision to connect didn't just change his story, it changed history. You see, Paul was one friend away from altering the course of his destiny. And that friend was a man named Barnabas. You may be one friendship away from changing your story. So, we read in the scripture about when Barnabas risked taking Paul to the apostles, who were the leaders of the people Paul had been trying to kill in his previous life. What happened? Paul's new friend Barnabas staked his reputation on Paul. And because of Barnabas, the other disciples gave Paul a chance. And the rest is history. And most of the New Testament. Think about it. You could be one friendship, one connection away from changing your story. One friend away from a better marriage. One confession away from overcoming an addiction. You're one conversation away from getting in better shape. You're one mentor away from understanding your gifts and becoming a better leader. So ask yourself, what do I need to do to connect with the right people? And this is really important. Is there anyone in my life right now that I need to disconnect from? Join me in a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the courage and transformation of Saul, who became Paul through your grace. Just as Barnabas welcomed him, despite fears and doubts, help us to embrace those who seek you, even when we are unsure. Strengthen us to boldly speak your truth as Paul did, trusting in your protection when trials arise. May we rely on your wisdom as we build each other up in faith and spread your gospel to the world. And Lord, we lift up all those affected by this past hurricane and the one that's about to hit. Shelter and comfort them in this time of loss and devastation. Bring swift relief and guide the hands of those providing aid, or those who are supposed to be providing aid. We pray, God, that you restore what has been broken. May your peace surround those who are grieving. Give them hope as they rebuild, and remind them that you are a strong tower, refuge in times of trouble. And God of peace, we cry out for the Middle East. Where there is violence, bring reconciliation. Where there is hatred, sow seeds of understanding. Soften hardened hearts and open paths for dialogue and peace. We pray for leaders to seek justice and for families to find safety and healing. May your kingdom come and your will be done in this land as it is in heaven. And Lord, I know it's a long prayer list today, but we lift up America during this election season. Grant wisdom and discernment to voters. Guide the leaders that you have appointed for this time. May this election be marked by truth, integrity, and unity. We ask for your peace to calm division and for your hand to be upon the nation. Lead us to reflect your righteousness and love, and help us seek justice, mercy, and humility in everything we do. It's in Jesus' name we believe and pray. And everybody said, amen. Amen, and happy Monday. Is there really such a thing as a happy Monday? Well, that depends on you. Not the situations around you or the circumstances around you, but you. You and God. Make it a good Monday. Let me give you the numbers from around the world. We'll start here in the U.S. with the cash markets, or the indices as they're called. Currently, the Dow is down 273 points. The NASDAQ is down 91. S&P 500 down 26. The Russell 2000 down 18, almost 1%. And the commodity basket, crude oil up $2.74. Boy, crude's just on such an incredible tear. Trading 77.16 last. That's a gain of 3.75%, or $2,730 per contract traded. Gold's down $2.30, trading 26.65 last. Silver down 42 cents, trading 31.97 last. That's a drop of a little over 1.25%, or almost $2,500 per contract traded. In the Asian markets at the close, Nikkei up 697 points. That's a gain of almost 2%. The Shanghai up 248 points, and for the Shanghai, that's over 8%. The Hang Seng up 362 points. That's a gain of over 1.5%. In the European markets at the close, FTSE up 22, the DAX down 26, CAC up 34. So it was a big green day in Asia. At the close in the UK, it was a mixed Monday. We had 2 in the green and 1 in the red. And so far, it is a big red Radio Monday here in the US of A, with all 4 of the major indices in the red. Now, if you're a futures trader, it doesn't matter if the markets are red or green, because you can trade in either direction. It can be long, short, long again, all in the span of an hour, if that's what the chart in front of you is telling you to do. With some other trading vehicles, it's not quite as simple. But we do like to see the 4 major indices all the same color. Red or green, doesn't matter, but they're all red today. So you're going to have some better follow through. In the early going at the Wall Street Open, the market was having some challenges finding its direction. But I think what I just shared with you tells us that it has found its direction. All right, let's look at some news. Today, October the 7th, 1 year later. Today marks 1 year since Gaza-based militant group Hamas launched the October 7 attacks in Israel, killing over 1,200 people and taking over 250 people hostage. With 97 still in captivity, Israel's subsequent war in Gaza has killed over 41,900 people per the Hamas-run health ministry. The death toll does not differentiate between militants and civilians, but includes more than 17,600 identified women and children. Hamas-led attacks targeted a music festival, civilian towns, and Israeli border posts. On October 8th, Hamas allied Iranian proxy group Hezbollah began launching rockets into Israel from Lebanon. The Israel-Hamas war has wounded over 97,000 people in Gaza, displaced 1.9 million of the territory's pre-war 2.3 million population, and damaged or destroyed around 60% of its buildings. Today, the war between Israel and Iranian-sponsored groups has expanded. Last week, Israel launched a ground offensive in Lebanon following Israeli-attributed assassinations and device attacks, killing 1,400 people. Iran has launched 2 bouts of direct missile attacks into Israel, to which Israel has pledged to respond. Yesterday, Israel launched a renewed ground campaign in northern Gaza and expanded airstrikes in Beirut. Hard to imagine it's been a year since this started. Let's talk hurricanes. We already know the damage done by Helene, and Hurricane Milton is projected to make landfall in Florida Wednesday, prompting evacuation orders for millions of residents. Out of the state's 67 counties, 51 are under a state of emergency, with Tampa Bay bracing for potentially its worst hurricane in more than a century. Milton gained hurricane strength yesterday in the Gulf of Mexico, on track to become the 3rd storm this season to make landfall in Florida. It comes after Hurricane Helene made landfall in Florida's Big Bend as a Category 4 storm, killing at least 227 people across 6 states. Deadliest hurricane to hit the mainland U.S. and since Katrina in 2005. Relief and recovery efforts for Helene are ongoing, with costs from the destruction expected to surpass $30 billion. Hurricane season runs from June through November. Experts had predicted this year would be particularly active, with between 4 and 7 storms of Category 3 strength or higher. I know we just prayed for the folks affected by the hurricane, but please keep those folks in your prayers. Really need it. And FEMA's already said they're out of money. They can't even clean up Helene. They can't even take care of the people left in the devastation of Helene. And now they're waiting on Milton. Between Israel, these hurricanes, and this upcoming presidential election, this is a very historical time in a bad way for our country. And as Christians, our duty, if we can't be boots on the ground, if we can't be there helping people physically, we can support through the Red Cross or some other way. But I think the most important thing we can do is pray. So please do. All right, let's look at the markets. A turbulent 5 days for markets featuring rising tensions in the Middle East and a port strike that both started and stopped. Yeah, they've put it on hold now to get us through Thanksgiving and Christmas. It was capped off by a better than expected September jobs report that helped stocks close marginally up on the week. For the first week of October, the S&P 500 rose 0.2%, while the NASDAQ Composite and the Dow Jones rose about 0.1%. An update on inflation and the start of third quarter earnings reports will grab investor attention in the week ahead. The October Consumer Price Index report will headline an economic calendar that will also feature updates on consumer sentiment and the release of the minutes from the Federal Reserve's September meeting. On the corporate side, some of America's largest financial institutions, including JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, BlackRock, will kick off third quarter earnings season on Friday. PepsiCo and Delta Airlines are also scheduled to report earlier this week. On Friday, the September jobs report cooled concerns that the labor market is rapidly deteriorating and will prompt another jumbo-sized rate cut. Well, you got to slice and dice those numbers. They are not what they appear on the surface. We talked about this briefly last week. Gold's breakthrough surge this year to repeated record highs hasn't stopped bullion from flying off the shelves at Costco Wholesale Corp, which trades under the symbol COST. Costco's one-stop shopping convenience is bringing gold buying to the masses by offering prices that undercut traditional precious metals dealers and extra rewards for its most loyal customers. Add to that gold's appeal as a safe haven and hedge against inflation, and it's easy to see why bullion buyers are turning to the warehouse retailer. A 33-year-old analytics engineer from New Jersey said it's a great experience overall. I get calls from Costco whenever gold bars arrive, as I am a previous buyer. So whenever I see the price has pulled back, I rush to Costco and buy one. Well, gold's pulling back a little today, so I guess he's off to get another bar. Amazon shares fell in pre-market trading this morning following a rare analyst downgrade that cited concerns over margin trends into the next year. which growth in the cloud computing business is unlikely to compensate for. Wells Fargo Securities cut the stock to equal weight from overweight, with analyst Ken Gorleski becoming one of the few analysts tracked by Bloomberg who doesn't have a buy recommendation on the stock. He also cut his price target from $225 to $183, one of the lowest on Wall Street. The e-commerce and cloud computing giant fell 1.25% to $184 before the bell. The stock is up 23% this year, as of its last close, modestly outperforming the 19% gain of the NASDAQ 100 index. Amazon's down $5.15 at the moment, roughly 2.75%. Oil, as we said, on a tear. Brent soared to $80 a barrel, its highest price since August, as mounting tensions in the Middle East raise speculation that Israel may attack Iran's oil infrastructure. Global benchmark roughly had a 3% rally on Monday, extending the surge from last week, which was driven by speculation about how Israel may respond to Iran's missile attack last Tuesday. U.S. President Joe Biden said Friday that he didn't know when an Israeli response would come, and he went on to say, "I'd be thinking about other alternatives than striking oil fields." Is it possible that we see $100 a barrel? Yeah, I think it is. Possibly more. Those of you that have been around long enough know we saw it at 140 at one point. So stocks fell today as traders trimmed bets on Federal Reserve rate cuts, sending 10-year Treasury yields above 4%. In the wake of surprisingly strong job growth for September, that's before they get revised, I assume, expectations for a continued slowdown in inflation reinforced speculation. Policymakers will opt for a smaller rate reduction next month. Money markets no longer see another half-point cut this year, while a quarter-point reduction in November that was once seen as certain is now priced at about an 80% probability. And I've talked to you guys for years about lithium. Rio Tinto Group has made an approach for Arcadium Lithium PLC. Both sides said today, confirming the latest takeover proposal and a sector turning its attention back to growth, as major miners scramble to increase their exposure to energy transition metals. The world's second largest miner did not provide the financial details of its preliminary move, but if it goes ahead, a swoop of the battery metal producer could shape up to be its most significant acquisition in well over a decade. There is a limited amount of supply of lithium in the world that we're aware of. China controls a lot of it, and you need it to make batteries for the electric cars, which seem to be rapidly losing popularity. But I think eventually it's the way the world will ultimately go. And so this is your chance if you're a long-term buy and hold investor. I'm not specifically recommending Rio Tinto, but check with your licensed financial advisor and decide what would be the best way for you to get at least some kind of exposure in your portfolio to lithium. All right, Logic 247. Normally I go through and explain everything there is to say about Logic 247, but I have a family emergency, and so I've got to cut out of here the second Michael finishes today. We're in week 323. Over the last 323 weeks, we've issued over 17,900 individual and crafted alerts. Since the markets opened last night at 6 p.m. Eastern, we've issued a total of 7 alerts. Still, now the time Valerie did the recap, 6:30 a.m. Eastern. This will be updated this afternoon. We're still waiting on the outcome of 6. We had 1 actionable alert, ran to its target, and so at the moment, we got 0 stopped out on the logic alerts. Over the last 323 weeks and over 17,900 alerts, what we've averaged on a weekly basis is 20% or less of the alerts being stopped out based on market structure and a simple process we teach all of our passport holders in their one-on-one mentoring sessions. Last week, when Valerie did the final recap Friday afternoon, we came in at 11% stopped out. Now, long before there was a Logic 247, our original alert service was the concierge trade alerts. Now they're different. Logic alerts come with an entry price, an initial target, a trade to target designed to help you get your goal for the day, then additional targets and a final trade to target. The logic alerts can come out anytime around the clock because futures trade around the clock and we have traders around the globe. But the CTAs are different. They're published as a static report shortly after the Globex open each evening. If you're a member or you're on the trial, make sure you read this information here. Last night, the Monday session began at 6 p.m. Eastern, and 15 minutes after the open, all of our members and trial members had all of these targets. So let's go take a look at the market itself. Start as we do every day with the S&P 500. Now, from this low to the new all-time historic high, this is the shallowest possible fib retracement, 24%. Price put in the new all-time historic high September 26th at $58.30. $5,830. From there, notice blue and climbing got above price, and we know when that happens, blue and climbing becomes resistance because it's on its way to turning into red and falling. So this resistance sent us back to the 50% fib extension and the daily BBC. We spent 1, 2, 3 sessions probing that area. That support sent us up to resistance. We talked about all this on Friday. And this was the Friday candle, and we did close right at the 62. And that's what we discussed on the show as the next potential resistance. We've now hit the 62 and red and falling, and price is sort of trapped here. Okay, the market's looking for direction. The black step line serves as support, and you've got resistance times 2 right here. We need to overcome this support, which gets us down to this support, which is support times 2, 50% fib extension, and the daily BBC. Once we get below that, we got to watch this low and this low as potential support. That would put us at the 38% fib extension And right below that is that 24% fib retracement I mentioned. And right below that is the bullish cross. Whenever you have a bullish cross that leads to an extended move, first time price revisits that area, it's almost always good support, at least the first time down. Opposite is true of a bearish cross like this, or when the market pulled back into that area, they found resistance. So, a lot of obstacles to overcome. With it. Earnings season's kicking in. Anything's possible. Above and beyond the all-time historic high, the 100% fib extension sits up at 60.13 and change. Now, daily charts are important, not because you trade them, but you go to find things like I just talked about. The larger the time frame, the more important the information that it conveys. Institutional traders, because of their account size and the size they trade in, they're the ones who literally move price. So whether you trade futures or stocks or crypto or Forex or ETFs, if you'll teach yourself to just spend 2 minutes looking at the daily chart of whatever it is you're about to trade, what you're doing is you're getting a free look over the shoulder of the institutional traders and see what they're doing. Our strategy and indicators aren't designed to outsmart the institutions with their infinite resources. However, our strategy and indicators help to give you clarity as to what the institutions are doing, what their objectives are, where the support is, where the resistance is. And so if you simply do what they're doing long enough to get your goal for the day and have the discipline then to put the mouse away, that could potentially change your trading for the better forever. And you can see we've come down and we've poked through just barely that step line. We've pulled back up, okay? So, I mean, we got support here and here and here and then here. But the direction for the moment is to the downside. We close below the step line today, then we should connect with the daily BBC tonight. The green line's called the BBC, stands for bull bear cross. When price crosses above it, we're bullish and anticipate higher prices. When price crosses below it, we're bearish. We anticipate lower prices. BBC, bull bear cross. Markets are fractal in nature, and the BBC can be applied to any time frame. Institutional traders, they tend to look at daily, weekly, and monthly charts. Well, you and I look at 30-minute charts, 5-minute charts, tick charts, and range charts. It has to do with account size, okay? They can withstand a deeper drawdown than we can, and they can stay in a profitable position longer than you or I might be comfortable with. We want to get our goal for the day and go do life. But if you make it part of your routine, it's not going to change your life overnight, but it's really going to help you start to learn how to use multiple time frames. That's important to become a successful trader. Now, all alerts, both the logic and the concierge trade alerts, are based on the 30-minute chart. Nothing magic about 30 minutes. It's just the time frame I chose years ago. And if it's not broke, don't fix it. So the vertical line you see here, it separates today Monday. Back here's Friday. Back here's Thursday. If I scroll on back, you'll see Wednesday. Now, here's the thing. These are last week's weekly trading zones. Any alerts that go out on Sunday night are based on the previous week's zones, because the new zones don't come out till Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. Once those new zones come out at 6:15 a.m. Eastern, they're carved in stone for the entire week. They don't change in any way whatsoever. So on tomorrow's broadcast, you won't see last week's zones, you'll see this week's zones, because any alerts that are issued today, and I don't know how many there will be, again, I'm dealing with a family emergency, but I'll do my best to put out whatever I can. But just know that all alerts going forward are based on the weekly zones you received this morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. But these were issued last night, 15 minutes after the open. So this was the opening candle last night. We ran right up to the weekly zone, last week's zone, at 5807/08. When price moves up to a zone, we expect resistance. When it drops to a zone, we expect support until proven otherwise. 70% of the time when price hits a zone, you're going to get this consolidation. It can look like that. It can look like that. It even look like that. That right there is dark cloud cover. It's not a perfect example of dark cloud cover, but it tells you that price is about to drop. And it did. Okay. Now, you don't have to learn everything there is to know about markets. You might go, oh my, gee, I don't even know dark cloud cover. What it's, don't worry about it. Okay. Just be patient. You're not going to learn everything overnight, nor do you need to learn everything there is to know about the markets. You simply need to learn enough to be able to get your goal for the day. And with 2 hours of live interactive training every trading day, you should be able to get that figured out pretty quick. Okay. All right. So price hits the zone resistance. Resistance will always send the market looking for support. Remember, when price goes up to a zone, we expect resistance. When it drops to a zone, we expect support until proven otherwise. So support sent us up to red and falling. Resistance would send us back to the zone where we consolidated for a few hours. Then we finally dropped down to the BBC with the red and falling pressure overhead, and that took us below the BBC. We got a leg and a retracement. Price rarely moves in a straight line. Okay. Now, on larger time frames, it can look like a straight line, but as you drill down to the smaller time frames, you become aware that no matter what time frame you're on, price moves in legs. Leg, retracement, leg, retracement, leg, deep retracement. So we came all the way down to this weekly zone. We've got a bearish cross right there. So if price should rally this afternoon, expect that area where the bearish cross took place. Expect that to be good resistance, at least the first time up. So price comes down to the short target. It exceeds it a little bit. Buyers come in, push us up to the BBC, where we consolidate for quite a few hours. Price is now below the BBC, and it's sitting right on top of last week's zone at 57.74/75. Now the low of this candle is 69.75. So 57.69 to 67, that would be 2 points. That would be your goal for the day. Now it may go more than 2 points. It may go down this area here. And of course, the new zones are out for members and trial members, and you'll be seeing those on tomorrow's broadcast. The market opened last night looking very bullish. And that's why out of the 7 alerts, we only had one trigger, and it wasn't an index. It was gold. on the Dow. Here's where we opened last night. This candle right here ran right up to the zone overhead, and just like the ES, found resistance. Resistance will send the market looking for support. It got to the BBC. Now, the pullback to the BBC holds more often than it doesn't. But eventually, we know it's going to trade through. It keeps the markets fluid and tradable. So down we come. We hit the short target. We hit the zone. Last week's zone, 42.45/42.430. Support sends us to resistance at the BBC. Now this candle here, it literally spiked right up to the bearish cross. You see that? I was thinking we needed to go a little higher, but no, that was on the ES right here. Bearish cross, extended move. First time price revisits the area. Expect resistance. The opposite, of course, is true on a bullish cross. Does it happen 100% of the time? No. Does it happen more often than not? Yes. So we tried and we tried and we tried. And when you start seeing wicks like this on the 30-minute chart, whether they're to the downside, that tells you price is probably going to head higher because it getting rejected at this level. And notice it got rejected here, and then it got rejected higher, then it got rejected higher, leg, retracement, leg. Okay. So now we've come to the zone, bounced to the BBC, the pullback held. Even though we spiked it, it held because all these candles are still touching the BBC. Okay. Back we go down again to the short target a second time. We're now through the short target. Okay. And this was an odd area for buyers to come in, but we recognize that we have no control over what the market does. Notice that blue and climbing has turned to red and falling. We're below the BBC. So we want to take out this low. Okay. So let's call it 42.340. Down to 42.310. That would be a very nice 30-point trade. You only need 20 to get your goal for the day. The Dow doesn't have ticks, it only has points. Everything else has ticks. And so many ticks make a point depending upon the market. The Dow, it's just a point. $5. Each point's worth $5. So it looks like we're going to head back up and probably find resistance in this area. If we get back through this area, I'd be surprised because you got potential resistance there, there, and there. But you have to embrace all possibilities. So far, this candle is an inside candle because it hasn't taken out the previous high or the previous low. On the Russell, here's where we had a big gap higher open last night. Price rolled over pretty quick. Just like the other indices, came down through the BBC, and we sliced right through the zone like it wasn't even there. We did hit the short target. And this low right here is this low right here from Friday. In fact, all these lows, look at the horizontal line. While we have poked through that low from Friday a little bit right here, that's pretty much been good support for the session. The next time down, perhaps we take it out. This was a zone from last week. Bullish cross just so happens to have been right at the zone. So if price starts dropping this afternoon, keep this area in mind. If was a zone last week, and you got a bullish cross right below it. Okay. All right, NQ. We hit resistance, came down through the VBC like everything else, hit the short target, caught a bounce. Now we're sitting on top of support. Crude opened here. We drew this in on the broadcast Friday, and it almost filled. It didn't look like it quite made it all the way to the top of that window of opportunity. This was the open last night. We opened down, traded sideways, blue and climbing, gave us that perfect stack. Price, step line, blue and climbing. We hit the long target. We got a leg. We got a retracement. Pullback held. And now we're sitting. The high of the day is 77.22. The highest weekly zone for the week is 79.80. So crude really on the move. All right, gold. Here's where we opened last night on gold. We're below the VBC, so we drop and we hit the short target support, which bounces up to the zone resistance, which sends us back down. And this low here, again, that's buyers coming in early, rallied us all the way up to the long target. Resistance will always send the market looking for support, which we found. This is where buyers came in last night, and we've poked through it a couple times, and that support has sent us back to the VBC once, twice. It's held each time, and it looks like price is trying to go there again. If we overcome the VBC, keep in mind you've got potential resistance here, 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 and of course here. Silver. This is where we opened last night, and we just headed right down to the short target, through the short target, support at the zone. That support bounced us up to resistance at the VBC. It sent us back to the zone, back to the VBC, back to the zone, back to the VBC. This time we overcome the zone, and we almost make it to the zone below, but not quite. Buyers come in. If you go look back here, you'll find out why. That set us up to the BBC. And we got a little leg and then another retracement. And look, all these times that the pullback held, it holds more often than it doesn't. But it will eventually trade through, as it did here after it consolidated. So we've got a low, we got a higher low. Price looks like it wants to trade through the BBC, but it also looked that way on these candles. So let price get above. You only need 2 pennies in silver. Okay. On the euro, this is where we opened, and we basically flatlined all night. We did find support at last week's zone. Caught a little bounce. The long target's way up here. All right, Michael should be here any second. One last look at the daily. Okay. Found resistance at the 62 and red and falling. We found support at the black step line. So since we began the broadcast, not much has changed there. But with the red and falling overhead and this red candle, it is more likely that we continue down to this area of support, possibly beyond. At the moment, based on just reading the chart, that would be a higher probability than price reversing, overcoming the 62, overcoming red and falling, and then challenging the all-time historic high. All right, Michael's here. He's going to give us a recap of everything that happened in the live training room this morning. Then we'll go live on TradingView for 30 minutes, do some live trading, and then I'll finish up with our good word for the day. As I told you guys, I got to bounce out of here. as soon as we're done. So we got
Okay.
all the recap done of all the CTAs, the logic alerts, and Michael, charts look good.
All right. I will get right into it because I got to bounce too. I just met with Graham too, by the way, during the whole break.
Okay, great.
I'm up to speed.
All right, fantastic.
All right, so here we go. Good afternoon, everybody. Today is my charts up. Did I take them where? Yes, I did. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Monday, the 7th day of October, 2024. Happy October. Yeesh. All right. So if you've not taken a free trial with us and you want to, go here to mytradingiq.com, click on the purple button right here. Now, there is no credit card required for the trial. Click on that purple button. And when you do, you're going to be brought to this registration page. On this page, all we ask for is your name, your email, your phone number, and there are 5 multiple choice questions down at the bottom of that. If you have NinjaTrader, you can give us your machine ID. If you have TradingView, you can give us your login ID. When you do that, we'll get your indicators indicating for you, so you'll have them ready to go at the beginning of your trial. All right, and that's really where you want to be. You want to have those indicators ready to go at the beginning of the trial. All right, here, register, and we'll get all that going for you. Now, spreadsheet. Today, and I don't think the markets have changed all that much, but today the market's really messy, and they really had a hard time choosing a direction, and I suspect they're going to be that way for some time. Today, anyway. We'll get into it here in just a few minutes, but today we started out, this is not right. Here we go. Today we started out, we almost had it on our very first trade, but I only got 17 ticks out of the 20 that I needed on that trade. But anyway, it took a while for another trade to come along that we could take, and it took 18 minutes. I almost had it in 1 minute in one trade, but it ended up being 18 minutes in 2 trades to get the goal for the day. At that point, we're up $1,000. We had made 20 ticks, actually a little more than 20 ticks, with 10 contracts on. We ended the session with $365 with 1 contract, almost all of it on the NQ. Actually, all of it was on the NQ. We're up 158 on the NQ, minus 25 on the Russell, minus 10 on the YM, and minus 20 on the ES. Now, the Russell we were positive on, and we went negative. The YM we were positive on, and we went negative. And the ES, we were only down two trades on the ES. So it was rough trading today. There was just no direction. And on the month now, we're at $5,842 over 5 business days, averaging $1,168 with 1 contract for each morning session. On the year now, we're at $91,980 over 188 business days, averaging $489 per contract per morning session. Now, if you were to quit trading when you get your goal for the day, and you were to add 1 contract per month, 1 contract per month, so far this year, you would have only had to work 54.53 hours, and you would have averaged $2,603 per hour if you did everything just like me. $2,603 per hour. Okay. All right. Let's get into what we did and didn't do. So we'll start out with the YM. Now you see there's been a little bit more movement here in the YM since the morning session, but you see the whole day here on the YM. This is our whole day on the YM in one screen. When you can do that, you know it's been kind of a flat day. We started out here, our first trade on the YM. We had picked up 10 ticks on the first trade. Then we stopped out on the second trade. That put us at minus 15. Then on the third trade, we picked up 5 ticks to get us to minus 10. And then we had a break even on the fourth trade. And that was it on the YM. During the break, we did the lesson plan. We didn't do anything through here during the lesson plan. There really wasn't anything to do. During the break, there was 1 trade right here. That looks like it would have stopped you out to the tick. Actually, no, you wouldn't have done that at all because it's going right into the weekly trading zone. So you wouldn't have done anything. There was nothing during the break. Nothing during the break. And, you know, if this doesn't look any better, we might not have anything at all. This is actually gold. We took 1 trade on gold right here. And then at the end of the session this morning, we took another trade on gold right here. And I picked up 3 ticks in profit on, not that one, but this one right over here. Picked up 3 ticks in profit on that one right there. It did end up making a nice move up. That was gold. Now we'll go to the Russell. We were trading it this morning. And you see how simple it is to trade back and forth between contracts. The Russell, we were on a 19 range, and you see we had 1 stop out right here on the Russell. I thought we were positive on the Russell at one point, but I guess not. We had this one stop out right here, minus 25 ticks, and that was it on the Russell. I think there was a trade that we missed this morning somewhere. Maybe not. I don't know. Dwayne, you might be able to cut out even sooner because if these markets don't start giving us anything, I'm not going to bother trading it. The ES, we had two stop outs, one right there. And then the second one was my fault. I shouldn't have taken this trade. It had already gone 4 ticks into profit, and I got it when it pulled back. I thought I was getting a good spot on the pullback, and I hadn't even really noticed that it went 4 ticks into profit already. And it just kept going, and it stopped me out. So I was minus 20 ticks on the ES this morning. Okay, and let's see, during the break, I had to get away from the weekly trading zone. It didn't do that until over here. There was one trade right here during the break that gave some profit. Another trade right here that would have been a break even, and you got nothing in there. On the NQ now, the NQ is where we made all the money, and we'll start out right here. Our first trade on the NQ. This was the very first one of the day, so it wouldn't have been 1 minute. It would have been 4 minutes this morning if I had taken the full 26 profit on that, but I only got 17. The next one that I took over here, we got the other 3. So it went from 17 to 20 on this trade right here. And then we picked up from 20 to 40. So we got another 20 on that one right there. Then we stopped out right there, and that got us to plus 6. And then we got a 48, got us to 54. Then another 48 got us to 90, or it wasn't actually 48. It was enough to get us to 90, whatever that is, 32, I think, got us to 90. And then we had a 48 there that got us to 138. We had another 48 there that got us, that was no a 30, that was a 20. Got us to 158. And I didn't enter on that last 48 right there. Huh. Well, let me enter on that last 48. That would put us at 206. We got one more 48 right there. That got us to 206. And that was the end of it all. I'll go back and check that to make sure. But there were some more trades after I got away from the weekly trading zone here. I had to get away from that zone during the break, I guess. There was one right here during the break. Down close right there was a good one. And the one that was starting to trigger just a few minutes ago when I was on with Graham. I thought it was a long trade that was triggering somewhere. Oh, it was delayed data. We were working with his delayed data at the time. So it wasn't actually a trade. It was something that was delayed that was looking like a trade. It looked like it was going to be a long trade. And I don't know where it was going to be. I don't know. But we're on. It might have been back here, delayed data. I think it was this right here when it was delayed. It was that one right there. Anyway, this data is not delayed anymore. So that was it for the morning session. So for anybody that's coming on right now in YouTube, there's not really a lot going on today. The markets are just a mess. We did pretty well on the NQ. If we go back here to the spreadsheet and we fill this out, we add the last one on there, but 206. And we got to add one more at the end here, 28. But let me go make sure that that is correct. Let me look at that NQ trade in my results over here. Let's see, NQ. It looks like, what time was that? Let's go see what time it was. It was right here at 11:03. Let's print this out and see. 11:03. I'm going the wrong way. 11:03. Here it is right here. Okay, so it was another 48 ticks. No, it wasn't actually 48. It was 42 down to 37.75, so it wasn't 48. So I'll have to fix that. I'll show you that in just a second. Let me find it. This looks like it right here. It's 1103. Yeah, that's going to be the one. So I sold 42.75 and I bought it back at 37.75. So that was not 12 points. That was, let's call it 4 points. Let's say 42 down to 38. We'll call it 4 points. So 16 ticks is what I got on that. 48. Okay, so what's that? Minus 32 less. So that would put that at 70. 174. That's right. Just want to fix it in the spreadsheet. This is 174. Right, that was the last trade that I took. And let's see, right now, let's go all the way to the end. All the way to the end. All right. It's got a chance to give us a trade here right now, but it's kind of weak the way everything is going. We don't really have a trend. We just barely got up above the prior swing high. And it needs to pull back, come down. It doesn't have to hit the ribbon, but it's got to get into the oversold. And it's coming to get really messy. You know, all the markets are really messy right here, right now. So we will have to just wait and see. And that other one, and the whole print on it. It was at 1103, right? It was the NQ 1103. I just had it a second ago. Here it is. Yes, well, I move that. There we go. So I really don't want to take this going into the weekly trading zone right here. We did come out of the oversold, and it has gone enough into profit to move the stop to break even if you did take it. But I really don't want to take it going into the zone like that. And the zone should act as a magnet and just pull it right up there. But we're not going to risk that. Now we're flat here, we're flat here, and we're flat here. We can go look at some of the other markets if you want to. You can go look at like crude oil. So, yeah. Are there any other markets that are moving right now that you guys know of? Anybody? Crude is going to be on the X contract, right? Gold was on the Z. That did get slipped right up into the zone. All right, so crude had a nice trade from right back here a few minutes ago. Don't really want to do that on 19 range, though. We want to do that more like on a 9, the 9 range on that one. Okay, did I do that down? Okay, so it had a decent trade from back here. And that was pretty much it. All right. Does anybody have any questions about anything at this point, at this juncture? Miles, do you have any questions? Bart, the password got messed up this morning. Anybody that couldn't make it in this morning, the password got messed up. It ended up being last week's password, but it'll be corrected tomorrow. It will be financial tomorrow. Okay, for all you guys that couldn't get in this morning. I'm sorry I didn't have time to answer all the emails. Okay, good thanks. So the NQ is actually putting in a higher swing right now, which is good, but it needs to put in a much higher swing to get the ribbon away from the weekly trading zone. My goodness. We have nothing there, nothing here, and nothing really over there right now either. That is a nice higher swing going over there on the NQ. So we like that. And so it's quiet. We have 19 minutes. I don't know that we're going to get any more trades here. So the crude oil's not giving us anything. Gold, that is going to be on the X contract. Hey, look at that. Look at that. What happened right there with gold? That doesn't look right. Let's go back here and back here. Yeah, it's true. I don't know what happened there with the gold. Oh, it's on a 9 range. Oh, we're on the X contract. Gold must not be on the X. Gold is on the Z contract, I think. That's what's wrong. That's what's wrong. GC. We'll just do 1 exclamation point. There we go. That's better. All right, so the gold doesn't really have anything. Anybody have any other symbols you want to look at? Look at the euro. 6E. I want that on the 7 range. It's four ticks kind of thing. Wow, look at that. That's horrible. All right, hasn't given a trade in a while. Look at the 6J. 6J. That was the yen in a long time. That would be on the Z 2024. Well, it's given some opportunity, a little bit. Let's go over here and look at some other things. See what Bitcoin has done. I haven't looked at Bitcoin in a while. It's all the way up to 64. Right? How was it over the weekend? Oops, that's the 6J. It's kind of sideways over the weekend. So not 30 minutes. Let's put it on a daily. Here we go. So it was kind of bullish over the weekend. Saturday, nothing, but yesterday was pretty good, and today. It's good. It was a decent pullback here, a good bouncing point. So using what we know, where should it go? Look at that. Look at the symmetry. I don't know why I have that there. I think that's way back here. It's symmetry. That comes out perfect, doesn't it? I love when things work out like that. So that's what should happen. I don't know how long it's going to take. Look, this is a whole month right here. This was a month for this leg. So that would put us into November. Right on my birthday. We have all-time highs on Bitcoin. That's right, birthdays. My birthday's coming up. I'm going to be that much closer to my sister's age. All right, so if you haven't taken a free trial with us, go ahead to mytradingiq.com, click on the purple button right here. There's no credit card required for the trial. All right, none required for the trial. It's going to bring you to this registration page where all that we ask for is your name, your email, your phone number, 5 multiple choice questions. If you have a Ninja Trader, gives you machine ID. If you have trading, you give us your login ID, and that's all you need to do. All right. It is 1:15. We have 15 minutes left in here, and I don't know if we're going to get another trade or not. That's. There was a question earlier today about something we did in the meeting last week, and I don't know. It wasn't Intel, but you can look at Intel and see on Intel. Nothing right there. It was Amazon that we're looking at. AMZ, Amazon, AMZN. That's what we need. All right. So the option that we said last week on Friday, it was 178.5, I think. That's not what we said last week on Friday. I have to bring it back up and see. But it was this Friday's expiration date. So last week, it was Thursday night. Right, is that October 3rd? What is Thursday night? It was Thursday night, October 3rd. And during the partners meeting, we were looking right here at this drop out of the overbought. Now the ribbon wasn't exactly spread, but we're saying right there, it was looking like it was going to drop down to the swing low, which was right here. And why did I have the 178.5s in my mind? Maybe it wasn't on the 25 range. I don't know. I'll have to go look at it. I think I made a screenshot of it. Let's see. It would be in downloads, and it would say something like Amazon. Yeah, let's slide this over to this. Here it is, right here. I did make a screenshot of it. It was 177.50s, and they were $1.46. Okay. Now I know the day after when this went up here, they went down really, really dirt cheap. But now we have this right here, so they're probably gaining in value again right now. But they've lost a lot of time value because we're now 3 days away from that. So let's see what they are. Let me bring up that other application where I trade those things. Hang on a second. Let me go back here really quick and see if we got any trades going on in here while I'm messing around with this. Nothing there, nothing there, nothing there, and nothing there. Give me just a second. I will go and find that. Here, log in Charles Schwab. And text me to that phone number. Okay. Chains. And we're looking at puts. And October 11th, 177.50s. Okay, they're up 66 cents today. Okay, but the day's range. So if Amazon does keep going down, Ronnie had asked me this earlier today. Those guys that were in the partners meeting last week, they were 146 last week, and right now they're 102, but they expire on Friday, right, on the 11th. So there's still a good chance that we'll make some money out of these things. Price hasn't done what we thought it was going to do when we looked at them. And that was it out to 8 here? This one. Yeah. Last week when we looked at them on Thursday, what we're anticipating was this right here was going to go down to this swing low, right? That clearly did not happen. I don't know what happened here at the open the next day, but it took off. And well, it's kind of filling that gap right now, getting down to 82.20, right? So it's filled that gap now. And now it's going to decide whether it's going to continue up or down. I don't know why it filled that gap. There was news that came out Friday morning. So it's probably come to its senses that the news that was there Friday morning is.
Analysts downgraded Amazon today.
Oh, did they?
Yep.
All right. Well, then those puts are in play then.
Based on their last earnings report, the majority of their income came from the cloud computing. And the analysts, they expect sales to be down, and the cloud computing isn't enough. And so, yeah, some of the analysts switched it from a buy to a sell.
There you have it. All right. Well, we just need to go down a little bit more to get down to where we were looking for. The 177.50s are what we were looking at last week during the partners meeting.
Right.
And I was saying by the 11th they should be up to around $2.25 is what I was saying. But then something happened the day after. We had news that came out. After that Thursday meeting, Friday morning, we had high impact news that came out Friday morning. And I suspect that that's what caused this jump, because there's no earnings or anything like that right in there.
Right. No, in fact, I think they today, report earnings on Friday, this Friday.
Do they on Friday?
Yeah.
That's funny, because that's when the options expire.
There you go.
So on Friday, if it drops down below 177.50, there is intrinsic value in them. But by the time Friday rolls along, we'll see if they actually gain in value. Be interesting. On Thursday night's partners meeting, we'll have some information to go over. Those public options we suggested last week. All right, let's go back to just 4 of these. We really don't have anything here. Now, Dwayne, if you got to go somewhere, I got to go somewhere too. So we can just wrap it up if you want. The markets just aren't giving anything right now.
That works for me.
Forced trade. So.
Yep, that works for me.
Okay. Well, why don't we just do that? I'll just say this. Today, if you add on that one last trade that I forgot to count, we ended up with plus 445 per contract this morning. It was all on the NQ, 174 ticks on the NQ. We stopped out once on the Russell, put us minus 25. We were back and forth on the YM, but we ended with minus 10. We stopped out twice on the ES. One of those was a mistake, put us at minus 20. But the NQ was active enough, gave us enough trades. There was one more trade that triggered here that I didn't take in this session. This one right here triggered that I didn't take. That would have been another 48 takes if I had taken it. But so we ended with, took us 18 minutes and 2 trades to get to the goal for the day. Once again, today was one of those days where you want to quit when you get the goal for the day. And we took a total of 18 trades this morning. So on a month, we're at 59.22, averaging $1,184 a day so far this month. On the year, we're at $92,060, averaging $489 per day so far this year. Quitting when you get the goal for the day and adding 1 contract a month, we got all the way, well, it took us 54 and a half hours to get to an average of $2,603 this year. All right. So again, if you've not taken a free trial with us, go here to mytradingiq.com, click on the purple button right here. There is no credit card required for the trial. Click on that purple button and it's going to be to this registration page. Just fill it out. Fill it out honestly. There's 5 multiple choice questions. NinjaTrader, if you have it. If you use NinjaTrader charts, then give us your machine ID. If you don't use NinjaTrader with charts and just trading on it, then you don't need to give us machine ID. Okay. If you're using TradingView, we need your login ID. If you're not using TradingView, you should go to mytradingiq.com, trading platforms, and get the demo for TradingView, right? Get the free trial for TradingView. Do that. If you're taking the free trial, you want to make sure you have that running on your desktop, okay? And that's it. With that, I can pass it back out to fabulous Phoenix, Arizona, in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Wayne, looks like you are ready.
Yep. Recap of the morning session.
Today it took 18 minutes and 2 trades to get to $1,000.
Good job.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap things. To become a member, go to mytradingiq.com. 9 out of 10 traders, new traders, fail because they don't have anyone to teach them how to do the job. So we have 2 hours of live interactive training for our members every trading day. On top of the 2 hours of group training every day in live markets, you also get private one-on-one mentoring, strategy you learn, the indicators that you own as a passport holder are fluid across all markets and all time frames. Future, stocks, crypto, Forex, ETF. Price flows the same across all markets and all time frames. Support to resistance, back to support, back to resistance, over and over, again and again. It's a never-ending cycle. It's just how markets work. As a passport holder, you'll also get the Logic 247 alerts around the clock. You'll get the concierge trade alerts every evening when they're published. You'll get the weekly trading zones every Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. And you'll be able to attend the members only workshop every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Really is everything a trader needs, all under one roof, one low price. Whether you're brand new to trading, or you've been trading for a while and don't have the success you hope for, it's all right there. mytradingiq.com. You can call us at 949-42-EMINI or email us support@cfrn.net. So we'll wrap it up with a good word for the day. Now, the last 4 days we talked about refusing to live in fear. Today, prepare in advance. Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with a portion of the king's delicacies. Daniel 1:8. Are you continuing to do things you don't want to do and indulge in thoughts that lead you astray? Are you constantly being overcome by the same old temptations? Well, here's the bad news. The new birth doesn't do away with your old nature. It actually intensifies the struggle between your flesh and your spirit. Here's the good news. You can live victoriously. How? Number 1, through prayer. Jesus told his disciples, watch and pray, lest you enter into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. Matthew 26:41. If you're tired of praying for forgiveness after you have failed, start praying before the temptation comes. No, you can't pray temptation away, but you can prepare yourself in advance to overcome it. And if you need help, call in reinforcements. Find someone who knows how to stand with you in prayer. The Bible says in Ecclesiastes 4:9, 2 are better than 1, because they have a good reward for their labor. By making up your mind, Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's delicacies. The way to subdue your impulses is by activating your will in advance. When you do that, God empowers you by his Spirit. Where did Daniel's strength of purpose come from? God. He prayed 3 times every day. That's in Daniel 6:10. Don't set yourself up for failure. Keep yourself out of harm's way. When Potiphar's wife tried to seduce Joseph, he fled and ran outside. Genesis 39:12. Both Joseph and Daniel had prayed and made up their mind about what they would do before temptation came knocking. And we've got to do that too. That's our good word for today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with His mercy, with His grace. And I'll see you at the bell.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading E-mini futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.